Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that sounds simple but can literally make or break your move, starting your water service in Anaheim, California. We're going to navigate the municipal rules, uncover those sneaky hidden fees, and make absolutely sure your next move is completely stress-free.
But real quick, let me ask you, are you really ready to turn on the tap? I mean, picture this. You've spent the entire day hauling heavy boxes in the California heat. You're exhausted. You go to wash your hands or, use the restroom, and nothing. The water is totally shut off. Absolute nightmare, right?
That's exactly why setting this up properly isn't just some boring administrative checkbox. It's about securing absolute peace of mind. Reliable water service means your daily life goes on uninterrupted. Plus, getting ahead of the process protects your wallet from surprise setup delays and premium fees down the line.
All right, so here is our game plan for today. First, we'll cover essential water services and finding your provider. Then, we'll walk through the step-by-step setup. After that, we'll tackle overcoming hurdles, share some expert tips, and finally wrap up with our conclusion and a quick disclaimer. Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, Essential Water Services and Finding Your Provider. So your very first hurdle is realizing that Anaheim isn't just one giant unified water grid. Your exact physical street address actually dictates who you need to call. Now, Anaheim Public Utilities, or APU, covers the vast majority of the city as a not-for-profit municipal provider. But they aren't the only game in town. If you live up in the northeastern neighborhoods, you might actually be dealing with the Yorba Linda Water District, and in specific little enclaves like the Lock Ranch development, you could be served by a private entity called the Golden State Water Company. And honestly, it's incredibly easy to make a mistake before you even pick up the phone. Imagine you're looking at a condo rental, like a unit over on West Sweet Bay Court for around $2,325 a month. If you look closely at the fine print on a listing like that, the HOA actually covers water, sewage, trash, and even internet. The tenant is only on the hook for electric and gas. The major lesson here, always check your lease agreement or HOA terms first. Otherwise, you might waste a ton of time and money trying to set up a duplicate water account that you don't even need. Moving right along to Section 2, Step-by-Step Setup.
So, assuming you've verified that APU is your provider and you actually do need to pay the bill, Step 1 is that boundary verification we just talked about. Step 2 is the actual application, and you've got 3 different ways to do this. You can apply online through their web portal, which is super convenient, but standard lead time can take up to a week. If you need it faster, you'll want to call them at least 5 business days in advance. Or if you've got a really complex setup, you can literally walk right into the customer service center on the first floor of the Anaheim West Tower. Then Step 3 is paying those connection fees, which brings us to $10. Yep, that's it. That is the remarkably reasonable standard service establishment charge from APU. And the best part? You don't even have to pull out your credit card right then and there. It just conveniently gets added as a line item on your very first utility bill.
But if you're in a scramble and need that water turned on the exact same day you apply, that $10 suddenly jumps to $45. You get hit with a $35 expedited service surcharge. And just a heads up, same-day requests are handled on a purely first-come, first-served basis, so it totally depends on if a field crew is even available.
So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here. Do not wait until nights or weekends. If you need connection services outside of normal working hours, you are going to face an after-hours surcharge that spikes your total cost to $70. Just a tiny bit of advanced planning keeps that extra cash right in your pocket. All right, Section 3, Overcoming Common Hurdles.
Even with perfect planning, a lot of new residents hit a very specific roadblock, the security deposit. Anaheim is super strict about complying with the Federal Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act. Here's how it works. If you apply and provide your social security number, APU runs an automated Equifax check. If your credit is solid, boom, your security deposit is instantly waived. But if you apply without an SSN or just choose not to provide it, they can't evaluate your credit risk. In that scenario, you're automatically hit with a mandatory minimum residential deposit of $45, and sometimes a lot more depending on the specific property. Another common hurdle is, well, life happening and falling behind on payments. If you hit a financial rough patch, it is absolutely vital to know your rights. Thanks to California's SB 998 guidelines, you won't just wake up to dry taps the day after a missed payment. The utility has to follow a very strict timeline. They have to mail you a delinquency notice, and they'll even install a physical flow restrictor, which basically limits your water use, before they are legally allowed to proceed with a full service disconnection. And hey, don't forget the hurdle at the very end of your lease. Voluntarily closing your account properly is just as critical as opening it.
APU requires at least 5 business days notice before you move out. And this is key. You must provide a forwarding address. If you don't, you run a huge risk of being billed for the next tenant's water usage, and the city won't even know where to mail your final security deposit refund. Nobody wants that. Let's get into the fun stuff. Section 4, Expert Tips and Perks. Once you really understand how the system works, you can leverage it to save serious time. For instance, if you're a property manager or landlord tuning into this explainer, you can completely automate your properties. By enrolling in APU's Participating Apartment Owners Program, or the Yorba Linda equivalent called the Continuous Service Agreement, the water automatically reverts back to your name the second a tenant moves out. It's a brilliant hack. It prevents unexpected physical shutoffs, keeps your landscaping alive, and totally eliminates the headache and fees of opening a new account every single time you have a vacancy. For the everyday resident, it's just helpful to know what you're actually paying for, right? The average residential bill in Anaheim sits right around $80 a month. That volumetric rate is basically sliced into 3 distinct pieces: the base commodity charge, the water commodity adjustment, and the water system reliability adjustment. So those funds aren't just vanishing into thin air. They go directly toward importing water all the way from the Colorado River, treating local groundwater, and maintaining the massive network of pipes right under your feet. Oh, and setting things up properly unlocks some pretty amazing city benefits, too. Anaheim actually offers cash rebates if you decide to replace a thirsty grass lawn with drought-tolerant landscaping. Plus, they offer specific income-qualified discounts for seniors and military veterans, totally free seminars on water efficiency, and emergency assistance programs if you're really struggling financially. Which brings us to Section 5, Conclusion and Disclaimer. Let's do a quick recap. If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer, remember this core strategy. Verify your specific water district boundaries early, apply for service at least 5 days in advance, and heavily scrutinize your lease or HOA agreement to make sure you aren't paying for a duplicate setup. Seriously, a little bit of proactive planning is all it takes to avoid that $70 after-hours fee and the absolute nightmare of moving into a house with dry taps. Now for a super quick legal note. The information, rates, and policies we've covered today are accurate and up-to-date as of August 2026. However, as we all know, municipal policies and fee structures can and do change via city council resolutions. So we always recommend verifying the exact details directly with official sources, like the APU website or their customer service team, just to be completely sure you have the most current info. So, armed with all these expert tips and a crystal clear understanding of the rules, you are fully prepared to get those utilities flowing effortlessly. My final question for you is, what are you going to do with all the time, stress, and money you've just saved on your Anaheim move? Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.